So before we leave the accomplishments, of which there are many of your years behind, is there anything else that you want to add to the list?
I'd mention a couple of things. One is we managed to stave off the worst of the health care burden that's imposed on most employees. We pay some, more than I would like, but much less than most employees. And we've preserved both the Kaiser and Blue Cross options. So that's, we didn't achieve that, but we kept it. We didn't achieve those benefits, but we kept them. But I think you may also be thinking about the sabbatical leave provision, which used to be 50%, paying you full salary if you took one semester off, but only 50% if you took 2 semesters off. That is, you'd get a semester's pay whether you took 1 semester or 2. Well, in this day and age, or anything, for the last 30 years, you can't live on half salary. Now, I have to give credit here, as I should, to so many folks on the faculty who have pushed ideas at us, on us, that we hadn't thought of. And this sabbatical idea, which didn't succeed the first time around, and we just kept plugging, but the sabbatical, and that's true with most of these, by the way, you plant the seed and they say, no, impossible, nobody has that, we're not going to do it, drop dead, go away. Okay, fine. And then you come back the next year, well, we're thinking about it, and eventually you get there, often. And some...
Their thinking evolves.
Yes, as they reflect, as they discern. So some faculty member or members said you ought to have more subsidy for sabbatical leave because younger faculty especially simply can't afford to take a year off, but it's a very valuable time. Mm-hmm. And ultimately we proposed 75% annual pay for a year's leave. And the result has been, I'd love it to be 100. I mean, that's one of the things I didn't get to. But at least it's, but at least it's 75, and so you can live on that for many people. Many more people can live on that for a year. And so we've had a lot of the scholarship among the faculty, and I sent you those figures from a few years ago, that it's articles, books, whatever, between the beginning of the union and today, quadrupled, quintupled, I forget what the numbers are. And a lot of that is due to the increased support, including the Faculty Development Fund and the 75% pay for a year's sabbatical. So I'm very pleased that that occurred. I'm proud to suggest I did it, but in fact, we did it, and the union did it. Yeah. And that one didn't come from us. The child care provision did not come from us originally, though I fought the good fight for it. We didn't get the child care center on campus built, but we got more money for child care.
And the promise is still in the contract.
I know, they say they're going to do it, but you and I won't live that long.
So looking back now, when you think of the way things were when the union was founded, and you look at the way things now, what strikes you about what has changed? And to finish off, what are for you the headwinds and what are for you the tailwinds facing USF?
Well, that's a big question. Because the university has changed 2 or 3 different times since I've been here. Starts out as a kind of a backwater, then it becomes kind of a polyglot mix in the 60s. Then it hits financial crises and things get cut back. And for example, there were 10 years of deferred maintenance on campus, and the place looked like a slum during the 80s. It was just embarrassing. Mm. Oh, save money, save money, save money. And we kept saying, don't you understand that if you save $1 now, you're going to lose $3 in tuition down the road? No. And then we were able to gradually build up the faculty. And of course, every enhancement of the faculty positions here, research support, teaching support, everything, means that we can hire better and better and better faculty. I would never be hired here today. I don't have nearly the credentials. I didn't have anything like the credentials that now entering faculty have. So that's important. I hope and believe that we are still at least equally a teaching university. I hope and believe that we don't delude ourselves that we're going to become, Michigan State or
Reed or something. Well, Reed is a teaching university.
No, a big research where the serious faculty drop in to teach an occasional course. We don't, that's not who we are, that's not who we want to be.
Right.
And I hope that's not who we become, and I don't think so. And as I say, the period between 75 and 88, which was all of the turmoil around the foundation of the Union and the university's academic and economic situation, I would not want to live through that again. That was not fun. I didn't like it. It was demoralizing. When the day broke, and it broke gradually between Father Clark and the Union and others, it's become a very, very different place. I think, I mean, maybe the disgruntled folks don't talk to me, but I think that people generally like working here, want to stay here, believe in the place, believe in its particular culture and its particular tradition. So that's the good news. The challenges ahead are many, and I'm not an administrator, so I don't have a handle on all of them, but at least from the faculty and union point of view. First, it's what I've mentioned a few moments ago. You have to keep the faculty together. It was thrilling when we had a common enemy, because the faculty linked arms and walked forward together. Now, what was happening was not thrilling, but the sense of cohesion and mutual support, what happened, an enemy to one is an injury to one is an injury to all. That feeling was really there. I'm not sure it's quite as powerfully here, and I hope it can. I hope you've done a good job in maintaining it in the face of prosperity, which to some extent is an enemy. I mean, of course it's a good, we want it, but it makes organizing against the opposition harder. So the challenge is that we've succeeded. It's not that there's nothing left to do. There's plenty left to do. We can always be a lot better in any number of ways, and we will be. But in keeping that cohesion, that's tougher. And so I think often the individual can get cut off at the pass, can get excluded or marginalized, and that we hope that the union helped prevent, and we hope that it will continue to prevent it, that we want to go forward collectively and not as individuals, not only as individuals. The other hazard is the economic and academic conditions prevailing in the United States. And I think USF is in better shape than many such universities, than many mid-sized private universities. I think endowment really needs to be built up. We're short on endowment, and we need to be much better about that. And that goes all the way back to the mismanagement of the 1960s, and 3 presidents so far, 4, have scrambled to catch up, and we're not caught up yet. We're not where we need to be on endowment. That's nobody's fault, at least nobody who's still alive, but that needs to be fixed. But education costs. It's labor intensive. Nobody's figured out a good way to keep the quality of education and reduce the costs. Every way people
MOOCs,
can,
I would say. But that's another story.
everything that people think of to help reduce costs, whether it's more online or bigger classes or more part-timers and fewer full-timers, they all clearly and inarguably
Have costs.
reduce the quality of education. Nobody has, so it's not that anybody's being bad and not doing the thing we all know should be done. Nobody quite knows what to do. And meanwhile, as everybody knows, the costs of higher education, especially private higher education, have vastly, grossly outstripped the rise in means of the families that send their kids here. People across the political spectrum are understanding that we have to train our students to do the jobs that exist. The problem with that is that it tends to be short-sighted, and people are all about vocational and pre-professional training. And the value of a liberal arts education is thereby diminished. And that's a disaster. And that that's the darkest cloud that I see on the horizon. If you graduate an English major, and that English major walks out onto the street looking for a job, you can be pretty sure, even if he or she is a terrific young person, or not young person, you can be pretty sure that that person will have a harder time finding a job, will have fewer choices of jobs, and will make less money than somebody who's been trained in computer science or in business or whatever. Now, we all know that. And people look at that and say, well, then skip this liberal arts junk, it doesn't help anybody. What we also know is that from 5 to 8 years down the road, depending on what you're measuring, whether you're measuring promotability, self-esteem, job satisfaction, even salary, peer esteem, measure whatever you want, somewhere between, let's say, 5 and 10 years, the liberal arts major will catch and pass the vocationally trained undergraduate. I'm not talking about graduate degrees now, but the undergraduate, because if you train somebody to do a job and the conditions of that job change, and they always do, and at blinding speed now, that person is screwed. Doesn't know what to do, isn't trained for anything. If you train somebody, help train somebody to think, to read, to write, to respond creatively to a number of situations, that person can make the best of a changing work situation. Ultimately, then, a liberal arts education is vital. But I wonder whether by the time people figure that out, there won't be anybody in power that's ever had a liberal arts education, and so they won't know how to fix it. They won't know what's wrong. So that, I think, and here I think the Jesuit tradition really helps us, because the Jesuit tradition is profoundly a liberal arts tradition. And I believe we should embrace that fervently, not cynically, but because it's right, because you want to educate the whole person to live a complete life, not just somebody who can walk out and get 4 jobs rather than only 1.
Well, I really want to thank you for sharing those stories with us today. They're fascinating stories. They're also important stories for people at USF who I think should know about the history of the association and how it got founded and its evolution.
It really has been a privilege to represent the faculty. Sometimes it was a pain, but it was also always a privilege. And I wanted to say before, and I don't want to stop without saying, anybody in a leadership position has some doubts about whether the next person is going to do it okay. And I'm sure Mike had serious doubts about me, which were well-founded. And I doubted, too, that having done it for, 17 years, the next person could do it. And what I want to say is you've done spectacularly well. We had 3 different sets of contexts and environments and problems, and you've handled your set of them with great mastery and good grace. And I think you've provided extraordinary benefits to the faculty. I hope they appreciate it. I certainly do. And it's been a pleasure working with you.
I feel exactly the same way. Thank you, Ellen. I really appreciate that.